Alright, yesterday after I got done mixing this up, I put this little rubber mat around it. The temperature at night, if it gets, I'd say below around 80, definitely 70 degrees, I like to try to keep the heat that's generated by all that bacteria inside. And this is actually, I think it's like a yoga mat. Fits perfectly around that tumbler. Just put a couple clothespins on, it stays in place. Week 1 is all about the temperature going up. Let's see what's going on inside here. Alright. Looks about the same as it did yesterday. You can definitely feel the heat. In here it's very humid. So if the temperature is 117 degrees, I made some little notes. Between 104 to 140, they consider that thermophilic, which is really an aggressive, heat-thriving, bacteria, fast decomposing temperature range. Remember, I'm shooting for 131, 130 and above, hopefully for a few days. I'm going to go ahead and mix this now, and then let's see if we can see anything now. Alright, so I turned it a little, and there's some of that pumpkin. That looks like a piece of apple. It's really hot. It feels hotter than it reads. There's a piece of pineapple. So this actually feels dry. If we're going for like a wrung out wet sponge, this is too dry. So I'm going to add a little water to it, and it's going to be non-chlorinated rainwater, and then I'll close it back up and wait till tomorrow. Okay, that should be enough. Okay, so for day 1, temperature outside was about 85. Compost was about 117. Alright, it's day 2, and let's see what the temperature is. 122. Definitely feel the heat in here. It's a little dark. It actually rained again today, and it's kind of overcast now. So, you know, there's a piece of pineapple. I'd say it's just kind of bacteria is growing a lot, creating a lot of heat. It's just really noticeably warmer. So for day 2, the air temperature was about, I'm going to say about 83. Compost is about 122. Alright. Alright, day 3. That was yesterday. It rained, My wife had a blowout of one of her tires on her car, and she got stung by a bee. So I was pretty busy with bee stings and tires and the walk-in clinic. She had a reaction to her bee sting. She's fine now. Tire's fine. It was a defective tire. They gave us a new one. So I didn't have a lot of time for compost yesterday. I did take a temperature of 129, and I've got a picture of that. Air temperature was 80. Ingredients looked about the same. The temperature was going up. That's exactly what I wanted. So let's move on to day 4. Alright, it's day 4. Temperature is 136. So let's see what's going on in here. Alright. First of all, it's definitely hot in here. Feels very humid. I saw some orange pumpkin pieces before. They're definitely getting discolored. There were some leaves right here. They're not green anymore. Some fungus growing here. I see some fungus growing right there. It's a little pineapple skin. You can see some bacteria growing on it. It's actually kind of hot. So there seems to be a lot of bacteria growing. They are what are creating the heat. I'm not going to turn this right now. I'm just going to let it continue to get hotter, or at least stabilize, and just keep checking the temperature. Alright, it's day 5, and the temperature is 145. That is really hot. So I wanted to see how effective this like rubber pad is. So I just have this little digital thermometer, infrared thermometer, and it says 78 there. So if I take this pad off, I'm kind of curious because it really feels really hot. And underneath, through the pretty thick plastic, it was measuring, you know, like 130, mid 130s. There we go. Right here, right underneath. As you get towards the outside, still hot. Starts to drop off. So I'm going to work on getting a wider pad. Just keep in more heat. Just looking in here. Really big burst of steam coming out. Humidity. See those little fungi areas growing. This little piece of pineapple is really hot actually, and a lot of stuff growing on it. This is still pretty moist. I thought with this getting so hot it's going to start getting dry. I think the tumbler keeps in a lot of that moisture. There's a couple things I thought about this, because this is really good heat. One is I think the next time I'm going to put more, if not all, the straw on the bottom, because the straw is so hard to break down that all that bioactivity, or whatever you want to call it, humidity, bacteria, getting all mixed in with the straw, is going to help it break down, especially when the temperatures are so high. When it's on the top like this, it's really not doing much. If the temperature is getting up that high with relatively little insulating straw on top, then it really is not doing anything by being on the top. And I'm gonna put it, all of it, or at least almost all of it, on the bottom. That way it'll help it break down sooner and maybe faster. So what I'll do now is I'm not going to turn it. Like I said before, if the temperature's going up, I'm not going to turn it. I'm going to wait and see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow I think will be the third day if it's above 130, and I'd be happy with that. If that happens, it stays around, upper 130s, 140. I'll probably go ahead and turn it tomorrow. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. So until tomorrow. Okay, for day 5, air temperature was 86, compost 145. Alright, it's day 6, and the temperature is 140. And you can definitely see all these veggie and fruit pieces getting all full of bacteria. You can feel the heat and humidity in here. Here's that pineapple piece I keep showing. That's getting more inoculated with bacteria, eating it up, eating and heating it up. And I thought this was starting to get a little dry, but it seems okay. Even though it's a couple degrees difference from yesterday, it still seems moist. I've experienced in the past, around day 7 and day 8, the temperature starts dropping. So even though it's just a little cooler, I'm gonna not turn it yet and just keep monitoring it and see what happens. As long as there's good heat in there, all that bacteria is breaking down all the carbon and turning this into compost. So day 6, temperature is 85, compost is 140. Alright, it's day 7, and the compost temperature is 122. Alright, still kind of the same thing going on. Temperature's gone down a lot, like, around 20 degrees. So this is about what I've experienced in the past. About day 7, day 8, temperature goes way down. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this, and we can see what else is happening under all that straw. Alright, I went ahead and turned it probably about 10 or 15 times. Now I want to get it really mixed up. And I pulled out a couple things. There's a little piece of pineapple. Here's a little cube of that alfalfa. And it's really super dry. Here's another piece of pineapple skin. Here's a little piece of pumpkin. Now, if I take some of this and try to wring some water out of it, nothing comes out. And you can tell just by feel it's too dry. If we're going for that wrung out wet sponge. This is too dry. So I expect the temperature to go down like around day 7 or 8. But because it got pretty darn hot, it's just losing some moisture. So I'm going to go ahead and add some water. Probably about, I don't know, half a gallon or a gallon. A little bit of it at a time, and then I'm going to turn it, get all that mixed in. Then I'm going to wait and see what happens tomorrow. I'm not expecting the temperature to go back up. That would be fine. It stayed really hot for a good solid 3 days. If it really drops tomorrow, I'll probably add some more fruit or veggie waste. You can see this straw is definitely broken down, and if you go back to the beginning when I mixed this, all these ingredients look certainly the fruit and veggies look totally different. The straw is getting broken down some. Like I said before, with the lignin, it's not easy to do. It just takes time. But I've had this mix get pretty darn cold, in the low 100s after week 1 or 2. And after week 2, I would say that's fine. If it gets like that starting tomorrow-ish, I'm going to put some more fruit and veggies in it. So let me add some water, mix it up, and I'll show it again to you. Alright, I finished adding water to it, and I just want to show you. If I squeeze this, I get a little moisture on my glove there. That's about right. It's not sopping wet, and it's not dry anymore. That is disgusting. Alright, I went and washed my hands off, put some new gloves on. I don't usually stick my hands in this, but I'm interested in showing you what happens. So I've been wearing gloves, obviously, and every time I get done, I clean my hands real thoroughly. It's kind of gross sticking your hands in there. So anyway, if you look at the temperature now, it's about 100. So that's what I mean by when you mix it, especially when it's real hot, it's going to lose some heat. And that's why I didn't mix it at the beginning. I just wanted the heat to get up to, I was shooting for about 130, 131, got up to 145. It certainly got above 130 for over 3 days, which is great. So now this is exactly what I've experienced in the past, is around day 7 or 8, the temperature goes down. That's fine. If it doesn't go back up tomorrow, I'm probably going to add some more fruit and veggie waste. This straw just needs to break down some more. It just takes time because there's lignin in it. It just takes time to break that lignin down and therefore break the straw down. So I'm just going to monitor this until tomorrow and see what I need to do. And hopefully the temperature is going to go up. And if it doesn't, I'm going to adjust it. So for day 7, air temperature was 80. Compost temperature was 122. After I mixed it, compost temperature went down to 100. Here you can see how the temperature went up daily and there was no turning. If you turn it, it'll lose heat. Temperature is really important this week. It could become drier at the end of the week. You turn it on day 1 only and don't turn it again until the temperature goes down. In week 1 the temperature goes up, in week 2 the temperature goes down. Alright, it's day 8, and the compost temperature is about 129. I wanted to wait till a little bit later today to look at this, because something really interesting happened last night. After the temperature went down in the morning, it continued to heat up, and it went from, around 100 to 118, 128, 135, and by, I was like 9 or 10 last night, it went to 151. So I think definitely the moisture is what was holding it back. And this morning it was dry again. So I added about the same amount of water, and I wanted to check it as late as I could today to see if it was getting that hot again, because I'd have to add more water. It looks like it's doing okay. I ended up taking off the little insulating jacket, because even though every part of this doesn't get, in this case, as high as 151, the outer layer would not get that hot. If it gets to 160, it would just start killing all the bacteria in there, and I didn't want that to happen. So right now, don't even need any insulation. This is doing just fine, getting heated up by itself. And if that's the case, that means there's enough nitrogen and carbon in there right now to keep the pile hot, and I don't think I need to adjust anything. The previous experience that I had is on day 8, 7 or 8, it would go down as low as 80 all by itself. So that's definitely not happening. I think it's a combination of the biochar, possibly some of the alfalfa. Just seems to be a really good mix. So right now the temperature didn't go as high as it did yesterday. Probably a little because of the jackets off, but I don't want it to go that high. That's too high. So I think right now this is the best thing. Just let it go. Keep it moist, take the jacket off, and see what happens. So day 8, air temperature's 80, compost 129. Alright, it's day 9. Compost temperature is about 131. Alright, today it was a little dry, and I've had the lid open just a couple minutes, so since it's getting to be evening, there's some bugs flying around. Anyway, it got a little dry. The fact that it's drying out and the temperature's staying up there tells me that there's a lot of carbon and nitrogen still in there, or there's a good ratio. So it's drying out just because it's getting hot, and that's fine. That's great. So what I did is I put about the same amount of water as I did last time, and I just mixed it real thoroughly. Before, at this point, I've had to add some more, mainly veggie waste, add some more nitrogen in there. And I don't think anything's necessary right now. If there's enough carbon and nitrogen in there and it's still heating up, and all I've got to do is add water, that's fine. So I'm just going to keep monitoring it. So day 9, compost was 131, air was 84. Alright, it's day 10 and 11, and temperature has been hovering about around 104, 106. There we go. And Things are about the same. Now that the temperature's going down, kind of stabilizes a little bit. Not a lot's gonna look like it's happening. And just kind of waiting and watching. It's definitely still above ambient air temperature, which is about 83. I'm not gonna turn it. I checked the moisture. It's got that sort of wrung out wet sponge thing going on. Just let it be right now. Week 2 is just about watching the temperature go down and turning it every couple of days. Alright, it's day 15 and it rained earlier and now the sun's out. I took a video of the rain and I want to show you how that cover helps keep this dry. Okay, so the container under the bin is dry. It's got a couple drips in there. So on day 15, the temperature is 100. The temperature's gone down significantly in the last week. I expect the temperature to remain about the same during week 3, and even decreasing more in week 4. So now it's just watching the materials, checking the temperature a little bit, turn it a couple times. Hopefully this straw is going to break down a little more. It's all about the lignin at this point. Most of the other materials aren't recognizable anymore, and that's what you want. So we'll see what happens. Alright, here's some straw from the compost on the right on day 15. On the left is the straw as it originally looked at the beginning. And you can see the straw is breaking down some. It's all about breaking down the lignin at this point. It just takes time. So we'll see what happens over the next couple weeks. In week 3, the temperature becomes more stable and you just turn it a couple times during the week. Alright, it's the end of week 4 and the compost temperature is 88 degrees and the air temperature is about 85, so the compost doesn't appear to be heating up anymore, just heating up with the day if it's sunny, and looks pretty broken down. And all I've done this week is just check the temperature. It's been hovering in the 80s. And I've turned it a couple times just to keep it aerated. So I would call this done, except for some curing and maturing. I'm going to go ahead and sieve it and then just let it sit in a bin with a cover over it, probably for about a couple months. There's a couple reasons for that. One is I don't need any compost right now. The other is I use cow manure in it, and just to be safe, because this is a closed system, meaning it's not exposed to the weather and it hasn't been in a compost heap for a year, you just got to be a little careful with cow manure. If this has inspired you to do something with your compost bin or use a compost bin, I'd not use cow manure. I've used it several times now and it seems fine. Haven't had any problems. But I let it cure for a month or two in a bin by itself after it's done. I'm actually probably going to start using less of it. You can use fruits and veggies and brown materials. It'll work just fine. So let's get started sifting it.
In week 4, the temperature has dropped substantially since the high point, and it's very stable, and you maybe turn the tumbler once or twice during the week.